Hi, Ivan from the EV Stock Channel here. Today, I have a special guest, Jordan Giesige from The Limiting Factor, to continue the discussion on Tesla and solid-state batteries. So Jordan, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me. Good to see you
No,
again.
yeah. Well, Jordan, let's just get straight into things, and I was wondering if you can maybe tell us what a solid-state battery is.
Yeah, absolutely. So the easiest way to think about a solid state battery is the liquid electrolyte that you find in most batteries has been replaced with a solid. Now, that's important because that's what makes a solid state battery much more difficult technology because it's much harder to move an ion through a solid than it is a liquid. With a liquid, it can just ferry across with the electrolyte, whereas with a solid, it actually has to find a way to tunnel through that solid material. And that's one of the main difficulties that they're having with solid state batteries is those
Yep.
ions can't get through as quickly. Um, they have created solid electrolytes that are about as effective as a liquid, but most of them are about 1/100th the electrical conductivity as uh, a liquid electrolyte.
Okay. And out
So
of curiosity, what are the solid-state electrolytes made out of?
the solid state electrolytes, uh, primarily what they've been making them out of is like lithium oxides or variations on lithium. Uh, but within that, you have polymers, glass, ceramic batteries, and each one of those is kind of its own separate thing. With there's so much research that's been done on each one of those areas. You could do a whole
Mm,
video just on the different types of solid
yep.
electrolytes.
And
Yeah.
out of curiosity, do you think one of those areas is progressing ahead of the others, or is there a favorite to work?
I haven't been able to find much information on that. I found research comparing different types of glass or ceramic electrolytes, but uh, not a meta study yet comparing the positives and negatives of each. And I haven't dived too deeply into solid state electrolytes because I found there's far more opportunities to focus on our current liquid electrolyte chemistry. There's a
Yep.
lot of tweaks that we can make, which is minimal effort and minimal cost that will give big gains to the batteries.
Okay. And that seems to be the Tesla approach, which is what they're doing, continually making small improvements to their technology while you've got the whole industry almost sitting around waiting for solid state to come and save the day.
Exactly. And that's an excellent point because I think a lot of people flash around the word solid state because I think they're floundering and they're trying to survive and they just throw up the word solid state as if they're going to leapfrog Tesla. Now, I'm not saying that they don't have a viable technology. They might have a viable technology, but they may not have the manufacturing ability to do it, or those solid state batteries may be much more expensive than what Tesla is producing. The
Yep.
approach that Tesla is taking is like, all right, let's find the cheapest raw materials that we can and arrange those atoms in the most efficient and cheap way that we can and
Yep.
crank these batteries out. Because, yeah,
Yep.
you can make batteries better than what Tesla has, but you can't do it as cheaply. And that's
Mm.
uh, one of the driving forces that Elon has. It's just find something cheap, rearrange the atoms,
Yep.
and that's the way to go.
Yep. And I also wanted to get your opinion on an article that I sent you in which Jeff Dahn was talking about making a lithium ion battery better, or that's what the title had, than a
Yeah.
solid state battery. I was wondering if you can talk about that briefly.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to completely review that article yet, but my first impression is the title doesn't actually accurately reflect what little I read in the snippet from Jeff Dahn. The title is talking about lithium ion, and one of the first things I read in the text is Jeff Dahn is talking about a lithium metal battery, which a lithium metal battery is different from a lithium ion battery. And when I looked at the graphs that accompanied that article, it looks like they're comparing different versions of a lithium metal battery just using different types of electrolytes, saying, hey,
Yep.
we have this lithium metal battery. We can improve on that lithium metal battery. It's not a dead end. A lot of people thought that a lithium metal battery with an electrolyte was a dead end because that lithium metal would just flake apart and short the battery out. Everybody thinks that, or there's a lot of researchers that think that you can only do a lithium metal battery if you have that solid electrolyte to keep that metal from flaking off. So
Okay.
what Jeff is basically saying is, hey, we have possibly another avenue here. We can just use our existing technology, but utilize it better rather than switching to an entirely new technology such as solid state.
Okay. So then would you say that there's no chance that lithium ion batteries will be better than solid state batteries in the future? Like you don't think you can improve a lithium ion battery to the point where a solid state battery won't be required?
I think the jury's still out. I think that's one of the um, most interesting things about articles like this that are coming out, particularly that one that you sent me from Jeff Dahn, because uh, it's opening the door to a new avenue. We don't fully know what the end of that road looks like, but if I look at it from my perspective, it's much easier to use an existing technology and improve it. And
Yep.
one of the key things that impacts the energy density of a cell is the elements that are used in it, not necessarily whether you're using solid or liquid state. I think it's
Yep.
more important that you have that solid metal anode, which is super dense. It can be made thin and energy dense.
Mm.
So, what inspired you to create um, the solid state video that you did a few weeks ago?
Okay, well, it was simply I just wanted to learn more about the topic. I mean, I didn't make a video because I thought YouTube needs one extra video on solid state batteries. It was literally I wanted to know who were the corporations and companies that were working on solid state batteries. What were the other OEMs and car manufacturers up to in terms of, solid state batteries? Are they going lithium ion? Are they investing into solid state? And I just wanted to get a picture of what was going on. So I literally did the research, looked also at what, Elon Musk and Tesla were up to. Yeah, did that research, and then I thought, why not share it with the rest of the community? I mean, when you share it with the rest of the community, you then get some feedback, and then people say, well, you missed this company, and then it allows you to really build your knowledge a lot more. Whereas, if you just do the research for yourself, it's not as interesting as when you get to then share that with other people.
Yeah, agreed. I know my family and the people that I live with are sick of me talking about Tesla and batteries. So you kind of have to find a group of people to talk to, which is why
Yeah.
I've enjoyed talking to you and why I'm starting a channel because I do want to get other people's viewpoints about things because yeah, there's so many different factors to Tesla's success.
Yeah. Hmm.
So, did you come to any conclusions at the end of that video? Was there any conclusions that you reached? Because you got this lay of the land, this view of the players in the battery field. Did you get a sense that any of them are ahead of the others?
I think it's so hard to tell. I mean, when I look at some companies like Sila Nanotechnologies,
Hmm.
you look at them and you think these guys could be on the right track. You've got, a guy like Gene Berdichevsky, who was employee number 7. You've got Kurt Kelty, who led Tesla's battery team for like a decade. So they seem to have the management team. And when you look at their technology, they seem to have solved how to make a silicon anode that can withstand the contraction and expansion that silicon anodes do.
Hmm.
It seems like their technology is very scalable and it's very easy to sort of swap in to existing technology. So they seem like they're on the right track. So those are the sort of things that you look at and you go, there could be something here. But then you look at other companies and they're all making these claims that you just
Yeah.
don't know. Um, like like I know Gene Berdichevsky and Kirk Kelty because they worked at Tesla. But then you look at these other people But how do you know? Like they could be geniuses, they could be even bigger geniuses, or they could just be running a scam, to make some money. You just don't know. There's like so much research that needs to go into that field. But one of the other things that I was thinking was when Maxwell Technologies, when the news broke, Tesla's acquiring Maxwell Technologies. The first question I had was, what's Maxwell Technologies? Never heard of them. This time I'm hoping to do some research to work out what the battery field is. So, you know, you know about the Sila Nanotechnologies, you know about the companies like Evanex, you sort of have an idea of what silicon anodes, the lithium anodes, you know what people are working on. So when there's future breakthroughs or if Elon Musk says, we're going towards a silicon anode direction, you're already familiar with those sort of things.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's also the other aspect of when Tesla acquired Maxwell Technologies, their stock price surged. So if you can sort of work out what companies seem to be on track,
Yeah.
doing well, you could potentially invest in those companies because if, electric vehicles take off as we're all anticipating, there could be a run on all these battery technology companies.
I
So
didn't
there's
even
also yeah. So
I
there's an
didn't even
investment
think about
opportunity
that.
there.
That's a great angle because I tend to focus strictly on just looking at the battery technologies and how they work, and then in the process, I tend to be able to dig up pieces of information, little nuggets. Um, but yeah, that's if you understand who's in the lead, you can possibly make a buck if they get acquired. And I got the feeling from your video that uh, you had a very positive view of Sila Nanotechnologies. They have the right people working there, and they have a technology that would be very useful to Tesla, and they have the relationship. So, in terms of everything that you covered in your video, I think I think there's a potential for that to be released at Battery Investor Day. Um,
Mm.
at some point, I want to make a video talking about all the potential ways that Tesla could increase their uh, battery performance, and as kind of a menu of things that they have in front of them. And there's no way to know which of those things on that menu they're going to put into uh, with their new Maxwell technology. So it's fun to try to guess, though.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. And the other thing that's interesting about Sila Nanotechnologies is when you have people like Kurt Kelty, who led Tesla's battery team, he sort of has the complete knowledge, not just about cell chemistry, but he has an understanding of the production. He has an understanding of the Tesla vehicles. He has an understanding of scaling. He's actually done all these other things that all these other companies are just talking about. So that's the other aspect that I think is really important.
Yeah, there's, as you said earlier, every battery company is making claims. And
Yeah.
this is something that some of the researchers I've watched them, it's something they kind of lament that uh, a lot of people who go into the battery field, they make big claims, but they actually don't back it up with anything. And they,
Mhm.
a lot of times, don't even have the production experience to make that happen.
Yeah.
Um, the best thing to look for when somebody claims a new battery breakthrough is a spider diagram. That's well known among battery
Yeah.
researchers that, all right, a battery has about, between 5 and 7 different characteristics that you're looking at. If you see an article on a battery that says it charges in 20 seconds, well, how many life cycles is that going to last? It's completely useless if it dies after
Yeah.
2 or 3 charging cycles. And
That's right.
what if the energy density is maybe half what the current best chemistry is? It means nothing until you see that spider diagram.
Yep. And from what I understand is if you push, performance in one area, like energy density, then safety then goes down. Then you increase the safety and then energy density goes down. Increase cycle life and then something else goes down. So it's sort of hard to push all of those areas.
Absolutely. And that's when I'm investigating new technologies, that's one thing I take a close look at. Which of these technologies has the potential to expand the spider diagram in every direction? There's
Mm,
all positive and no negative, and that's what all these researchers are looking for as well. They're
yep,
not looking for um, just to hit one area. When they do their
yep,
research, they're looking to make the battery holistically more efficient, cheaper, etc.
yep. Okay. No, that's interesting. And out of curiosity, what are your thoughts on, say, the competition or say the car industry? Do you think there's anyone out there that's going to challenge Tesla, or who would be the leading candidate?
It is not looking good. Um, One thing, Jim Cramer, I don't know if you know who he is.
Yeah,
He's
yeah, I do.
okay. Most of the time, I think he's a bit of a blowhard, but he said something that was surprisingly wise today. He said most of these competitors to Tesla, they're making electric cars. What they but what Tesla is actually providing is an entirely new type of technology. He phrased it a little bit better than that, but yeah, like a technology experience. So these other auto manufacturers, they're building electric cars, but they can't do over-the-air updates. Um, they're like, for instance, Volkswagen, the cars they're making at the moment, they're so bad that they're coming out of the factory bricked, and so that's awful. They just can't pull it all together like Tesla can, and I don't see any other company doing that. Who do I think can catch up? I think maybe it's probably best to go by country. The United States, if you look at the major auto manufacturers, in 2008, 2009, they went um, bankrupt or got close to bankruptcy. And there was no competition coming for them, really. They had the market cornered, especially for pickup trucks.
Mm,
What happens if there's a recession and then there's Tesla there as well? I think they're gone. In terms of European market, the one that's making the best noises is Volkswagen. Herbert Diess or Dice, I'm not sure how you say his name. He seems like a switched on guy, and he's really trying to light the fire under his people to make them realize that this is do or die. I think earlier today, or I saw an article where he said we have to kill all of our sacred cows, and we need to, put the pedal to the metal. In terms of Japan, they look actually like one of the worst, except for Nissan. Most of the auto CEOs over there are saying, uh, fuel cells, etc. We don't believe that there's a market for electric cars. If they do survive, it's because the Japanese will support their automakers until they have a chance to catch up. Because the Japanese being very nationalistic, I think
mm,
they'll support their own companies so they don't completely go bust.
mm.
Korean manufacturers, I don't know. I think that takes us around the world.
Yeah,
That's my view. Oh, China. I think China's going to do just fine. They have BYD and CATL. They're getting heavy into battery production, and they produce a lot of battery powered cars.
yep.
I think they're going to steal technology from
Mm,
Tesla too. I think not necessarily steal from Tesla, but I think they're going to learn from Tesla. Those people are going to
yep.
go work in other places and bring those experiences with them.
Mm, hmm. No,
Yeah, so
definitely.
I'd be interested in your view. We're kind of getting into the investment side of things now rather than solid state, but
Yeah.
I'm just as interested in the investing side.
Mm. Well, just on what you said, just to add, I do think Volkswagen would be definitely one of the key players because they're actually going the route of vertical integration. They've got plans to make 70 different electric vehicles by the end of the decade.
Oh,
They have a plan on investing $30 billion over that time frame. And I think they were planning to make about 22 million vehicles over that, or 22 million EVs over that same time frame. So it looks like they're going heavy on the EV front. And if they do vertically integrate, then they've actually got a shot at this. Whereas other people are just, buying batteries off the shelf batteries from other suppliers. It's kind of hard to control your costs.
yeah.
Whereas Volkswagen seems to have the right approach.
Yeah, if it did come to it, I think they would get a bailout from the German government because the auto industry is so key
Mm,
um, to that, and that might be the galvanizing force that forces them to jump into it with both feet more quickly. Because
yep.
my main concern with Volkswagen is that um, producing cars is so capital intensive that if your car production drops by a certain amount, you pretty much go bankrupt because you have all this equipment, machines, etc. And the fewer cars you produce, the less your margin is, and that goes negative really quickly.
Yep.
So if they just have, maybe 25 to 50%, I have no clue, I'm just throwing out numbers here, but say they lose 25 or 50% of their business to Tesla, that might be enough to sink them unless they get
Mm,
some help from the government. I
yep.
don't know enough about the auto industry to know how much of a hit they can take and keep going.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I think one thing to consider is that the auto industry is huge. I think, just going off memory, it's about 80 million new vehicles are sold each year. So Tesla can massively grow, and ideally, they shouldn't be putting anyone else out of business. There's room for Tesla, there's room for all these other people. I mean, the only reason these companies, I think, will go bust is if they wait so long to start working on this technology that by the time they do, everyone else has sort of perfected it, then they're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, I haven't panned back for a while and looked at it from that perspective, the 80 million cars in the world. But it does seem like um, Tesla will be one of the main players, and then perhaps whoever does get it, like Volkswagen, they're going to gobble up the whole market. Maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 companies instead of
Mm.
the current, well, I don't know, 20 or 30
Mm.
nameplates.
Hmm. All right, so just another question, Jordan. You mentioned that you were starting your own YouTube channel. Just wondering if you can maybe talk a bit about that and what your sort of focus is on.
Yeah, it's called The Limiting Factor. And the reason why I chose to call it the limiting factor is because anytime that you have a technology, there's always barriers for it to be implemented, whether that's like chemistry or production. Um, there's always limits, and working out how you're going to solve those problems always makes for a really interesting story. The first, I don't know, probably 2 dozen videos I'm going to make are going to be on battery technology, because I think that's one of the most interesting things that you can talk about right now. Every time that we have a new technology that rolls through humanity, whether it's wood or coal or um, oil, it completely changes the face of humanity because energy is really the ability to do work and get things done. And the cheaper that you can do work and get things done, it raises a rising tide raises all boats. So that's why I'm going to be focused on energy for now and battery technology. Uh, but another motivation for the channel is I want to get other people's point of view on things. I like picking people's brain and learning about things, and I'm sure there's people out there that know more about some of the things I'm talking about. I'm just a curious person who's kind of digging in the topics like yourself.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a chance to kind of build a community and talk to other people. So
Okay.
I've done one video so far just to test things out, but I'm going to be releasing my first official video about the same time that you'll get this interview slash discussion
Okay, and what's that video
post.
about that you've been working on?
Uh, it's on Jeff Dahn from Dalhousie University. You've
Yep.
probably seen articles on him on uh,
Yep.
Electric or Clean Technica,
Yep.
etc.
Definitely. Yep.
So he has some. There's a reason why Tesla has partnered with him, and nobody's really talked about that. And it's because he can accelerate the development of batteries by orders of magnitude.
Okay.
So I think it's an interesting story. So that's what I'll be sharing.
Sure. Okay, that's an interesting video. And do you have any other videos planned?
Yes, after that, I'm going to do Shirley Mung, which you may have heard about on
Yep.
Galileo Russell's channel. Um,
Yep.
and after that, I think the next video I'm going to be doing is on a supersonic vertical and takeoff landing electric jet.
Okay.
That's another fascinating one, just like batteries. There's a whole lot going
Okay.
on there. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's pretty interesting. I mean, this has been my first sort of interview. I mean, I've
Mhm.
usually been sort of behind the computer, not behind the camera. So,
Yeah, so what that's something I forgot to ask you is what inspired the whole idea behind the channel? What drives you?
so again, it was just I really enjoyed the research side of things, and I had a couple of my colleagues because I would do all my research and then I'd show a total of two people. And that would be like, man, you've got all this research. Why are you just sharing it with us? Why don't you make a YouTube channel? Share it with a whole bunch of other people. And I thought that would be an awesome idea because it gives me a chance to connect with other people and sort of, speak to other Tesla and, EV enthusiasts because I don't know that many in my circle of friends. And in doing so, it's been really good. I've managed to meet a whole bunch of cool people. It's really allowed me to increase my knowledge. So that's been the main reason.
Yeah, well, it comes out in your channel because I noticed there's a few areas where you do deep dives on thing or where you're doing that history of Tesla, which is a Herculean feat that has to take a lot of time. And
Yep.
I know I appreciate it, and I think other people do as well.
Yep. And one of the reasons that I'm doing the Tesla documentary series is I'm just fascinated by the history of Tesla and all the things that I missed out because I started following Tesla in about probably late 2016. So there's a
Mhm.
whole history that I missed out on. And you can either learn about it, just read books, watch a few videos, or you can make a documentary. But if you make a documentary, then you have to sort of cover everything. And for me, that's been quite enjoyable.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of glad that other people are finding it enjoyable as well. Well, yeah, well, it was really good to have you on this show. I mean, we'll see the response if hopefully if people like it. I'm happy to, have you on again or for me to pop onto your channel and discuss, different topics. Maybe we can even discuss battery technology or a certain aspect into greater depth.
Mhm.
It's just fun to keep the conversation going. I mean, we occasionally chat from time to time, and we talk about a lot of interesting things. But for me, I'm more than happy to share this with everyone else. If we're doing the research and discussing it, if people want to listen, I'm all for that. I'm all for sharing this information.
Yeah, absolutely. I We'll see what the response is like on the video because I know myself, I have a lot more to talk about and a lot more to share about what I've dug up
Yep.
on Tesla and batteries, etc. And I know you're the same way. And the conversation just kind of um, it flows, and there's a lot of interesting information that comes out that I think other people uh,
Yeah.
will enjoy, or hope they do.
All right, Jordan. Well, look, thanks again for being here and sharing your thoughts, and hopefully we'll have you on soon enough.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for having
All
me
right.
along.
All right. All right. Catch you later.
Yep. See ya.
The link to Jordan's video will be below, and I'd highly recommend them as they have some great content, especially on Jeff Dahn and some of the work he's been doing, which I haven't seen anywhere else. Also, let me know what you guys think. Do you want me to get Jordan back on the show to cover some more topics? Anyways, thank you to all the Patreons that have supported the show, and in particular David, our newest Patreon, so thank you for that. And just remember, all content in this video is our opinion only, and we do not recommend buying or selling any financial instruments. So till next time, I'll see you guys soon.